Well, good morning. This is Earl Hunt with the Resource Group, a solution consultant, and welcome to our presentation of the hidden costs of QuickBooks and how to fix them with Dynamics GP. So we're going to go through and talk about some of the specific challenges around the usage of QuickBooks in a growing business, and a little insight on how we can fix those, help you to fix those through the implementation of Dynamics GP. So let's go ahead and get started. So the hidden costs of using QuickBooks. And so you see here on the screen, I've got a couple of the Intuit products. We've got Quicken and QuickBooks. And perhaps part of the reason that you're using QuickBooks in your business today is that you might have used Quicken at home as kind of the gateway drug, if you will, to get introduced to the Intuit products, and works really well for a lot of people. I use Quicken at home myself. Or maybe it was kind of the allure of the price tag of QuickBooks, probably $250, not too much more than that. But I'm sure that whatever the reason is, that at the time that you started using QuickBooks, it was operating quite well for your business, and there were some valid reasons for doing so. Well, we're going to visit some of the challenges that you probably are facing today. You probably have a vague sense that maybe QuickBooks isn't the right package for your growing business. Your needs may have changed over the years. And so we're going to explore some of those specifics and how Dynamics GP might be the product to rectify some of those challenges. Let's move on to the first one. So the first one is really reliance on error-prone manual processes. And so if you're faced with workarounds, doing things outside the system, that's a good indicator of that. Reliance on external spreadsheets to kind of fill the functionality gap would be another reason and another way to kind of look at that. And all of these result in increased labor costs, can expose your company to costly errors. And by doing so, you really never have one up-to-date version of the truth because you're not managing everything in one integrated system. When we look at the solution for that, we look at Dynamics GP and its robust, enhanced functionality. In fact, in the recent release of Dynamics GP 2013 in December, they added over 100 features in that new application, in that new version alone. There are also many available third-party applications that can add functionality that's more specialized or industry specific. Now, some of the functional gaps that we hear from a lot of our customers that used to be on QuickBooks are things like the lack of serial and lot number tracking, the inability to handle multiple warehouses, the inability to handle multiple ship-to addresses for customers, customer-specific pricing, and deferred revenue and recurring billing functionality. Let's go over to Dynamics GP and take a look at some of the more advanced functionality that we just discussed. All right, so I'm in Dynamics GP. I'm going to go ahead and take a look and bring up the item maintenance card. And I know that the item maintenance card in QuickBooks is fairly straightforward. We've got a lot more functionality here in Dynamics GP. So when we look at the valuation methods, we have a variety of different costing methods that you can use for your inventory, FIFO, LIFO, both on a perpetual and periodic basis, and average as well. When we take a look at some of the options here, I mentioned the ability to track both on serial numbers and lot numbers. Let's go ahead and pull up an item here, and we'll take a look at some specifics. Here's a green phone. We notice that that particular green phone is being tracked by serial number, and so we've got serial number tracking throughout. We know by serial number who we sold items to and who we purchased those items from. When we drill down a little bit further, we see that on the price list, we've got the ability to do pricing based on a percentage markup of current cost, standard cost, current cost. We can base it on a currency amount or a percentage of list price. We can also have multiple price levels and then assign particular customers to those price levels. I mentioned the ability to do multiple locations and multiple warehouses. Here's where we would set that up. And we can have a variety of different locations where we store our inventory. Just gives you some flavor of that. Let's go ahead and take very quickly a look at the customer card and see some of the additional functionality that Dynamics GP provides on the customer card. Take a look at a particular customer, Aaron Fitz. We'll see Aaron Fitz a little bit later as well, and we'll drill down into the ship to address, and you see we can have multiple ship to addresses. And we've seen in the inventory card the ability to have different levels of pricing, and we see that we've assigned Aaron Fitz to the retail level of pricing, and we can see here the comprehensive list of the different pricing levels, so we can pretty much accommodate any pricing situation that you might have with your customers. And then finally, I mentioned revenue deferrals. We're taking a look here at an inquiry screen, and I'm looking at a particular invoice where we're deferring revenue over 12 months. And it's actually computing this automatically and then making those journal entries to recognize the revenue over that 12-month period. Okay, let's go back here and take a look at the next challenge with using QuickBooks in your business. And the next one really is about impaired financial visibility and having information in silos. And the reason that happens with QuickBooks is that it's difficult to integrate QuickBooks with external systems. And this often results in a hodgepodge of disparate systems, reduced productivity, and results in having to have your people rekey information into multiple systems. This results in an impossible situation where you don't have a full 360-degree view of your business. So the solution for that is a fully integrated system, which is Dynamics GP. Not only is it integrated within the modules of the package between finance, supply chain, HR, and payroll, but it can be easily integrated to other systems. Oftentimes, in a situation where you're using QuickBooks, you might have your sales team, and they might go out and pursue a CRM package, and then you find out that it doesn't talk to your QuickBooks system. So when somebody changes a customer record in the sales in the CRM system, it doesn't reflect the same change in your accounting system. So we're going to take a look here at a situation where we're going to look at an integration between Microsoft Dynamics CRM and Dynamics GP. So I'm going to bring up here, this is Microsoft CRM, and I'm looking at a listing of orders and invoices, and these invoices and orders are the same invoices and orders that are contained in the GP system. So there's an integration between the two systems that keeps those two in synchronization. I'm going to go ahead and go through a process of adding a new order in CRM. And of course, CRM is a package that your salespeople would use, and you probably don't want your salespeople in your accounting system. So we have them here in CRM, and they're able to create a new order. We're going to give that order a name. We're going to go ahead and pick a customer, and these are the same customers that we have in our accounting system. And every time you change something here, maybe an address, that also reflects that same change in the accounting system. So we'll go ahead and pick Aaron Fitz. We're going to go ahead and pick a price list. We can have that default in. We're going to pick the retail price list here. And then we're going to go ahead and save that. And then we're going to start to add some products. And again, on the product side, I'm going to add a new product. I'm going to do a search for the product here. And I'm going to go ahead and add this 15-inch monitor, which is an M1500. And again, this list of products is the same product list that you have in your Dynamics GP accounting system. It keeps those synchronized. I'm going to select a unit here. I can sell that in each, or I can sell it in case. I'm going to go ahead and pick each. I'm going to pick a quantity of 1. I'm going to go ahead and save and close that. come back to the top level. I'm going to recalculate, and it recalculates and shows me the total amount. And then when I'm ready and the order looks good here on the CRM side, I'm going to go ahead and submit the order, which is going to automatically create the order over on the GP side without having to rekey that information. So I just submitted the order. I'm going to take a look at a list. Now I'm in the accounting system, and I'm looking at a list of all the orders for that customer, Aaron Fitz. I'm going to go ahead and refresh that, and we see that a new order has shown up, which is the result of submitting that from the CRM side. I'm going to go ahead and drill down to that, and we can see that on the sales transaction entry in Dynamics GP, it's gone ahead and automatically created this order for Aaron Fitz for item number M1500, and then we can process as normal, pick, pack, and ship, and invoice the customer. All right, let's move on to the next challenge with using QuickBooks in your growing business, and that's the inability to handle growing data volumes. And what we often hear from a lot of our customers that used to be on QuickBooks is that over time, especially when your business is growing and maybe you're adding people to the QuickBooks system and certainly the transaction volume is increasing, that you start to experience screen delays and slower report creation and maybe even some system crashes that could be leading to some loss of data. So the solution from Dynamics GP is the fact that it is based on the award-winning Microsoft SQL Server, which is a very scalable platform. This is something that's really difficult to show, but I do have here a copy of one of the latest benchmark tests that was done. And as you can see here, this performance benchmark was done with 500 concurrent users. So that tells you right off that the system can handle a lot of users. If we drill down here to kind of the summary, we'll find out that these 500 users put in thousands and thousands of transactions an hour. In fact, some of the highlights that I noted were 28,000 sales orders per hour, 82,000 AP vouchers posted per hour, and 371,000 business transactions were put through the Dynamics GP system by these 500 users in just an hour period of time. So very, very scalable. We don't currently have any customers that have 500 users, but that just gives you a good indication that it's very scalable as your business grows. Let's move on to the next challenge that we find with people using QuickBooks in their business, and that's really around security in audit trails. And you know, with limited security, there's always the potential for some fraud and abuse in the system, kind of the lack of segregation of duties, and just the ease of being able to go into QuickBooks and change things. It's always a double-edged sword. People say, well, QuickBooks is really easy to use, and the downside is, well, it's easy to change things and there's no audit trail. It can result in your company audit being more expensive, as the auditors have to spend more time in doing testing around proper controls. Also more difficult to investigate mistakes. Who changed it? When did they change it? Because it's very easy to change information within QuickBooks and not have a good audit trail. So the solution for that from Dynamics GP is the offering of a very comprehensive security model. So all screens, input screens, reports, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the field level can be secured down to an individual user. In terms of audit trail, very, very simple to correct transactions, and we're going to take a look at that briefly here in a second. Also, throughout the system, there are user-defined alerts to track any type of status change. For example, you might want to know when a new vendor was added, or items are below an order point, or if a customer goes over their credit limit. Also, alerts can track transaction statuses, so you might set a limit on large orders and want an email when a large order comes through, or a priority customer order. One of the situations that we just had recently was a customer that came to us, And what they wanted was the ability to more control the vendor add process. So they had some clerical people that were adding vendors, but they wanted a person to be able to monitor that and actually approve that vendor creation before they started cutting checks to the vendor. And so the solution that we implemented for them was to when a clerical person added a vendor, we immediately put that vendor on hold, which meant that no checks could be cut to the vendor. And then we created a simple list on the reminders page here. This is the home page of Dynamics GP, and we can have a number of different reminders and lists that are updated on a real-time basis. And so we created this list, so all that person that needs to approve the vendor has to do is monitor this list. Then they click on the particular list, and it comes up with a smart list, a listing of the vendors that are on hold. And we see that Woodgrove Bank is on hold. And so I'm gonna click through to that and bring up the vendor card. And we see that Woodgrove Bank is indeed on hold, was put on hold when this record was first created. And so I'm coming in as the manager that's going to take this off of hold and go ahead and save it. And it pops up a screen that says, what is the password to take this vendor off of hold? Right? So only the person that or persons that know the password are able to come in here and take this vendor off hold. So a good way to monitor the addition of vendors. I also wanted to show you kind of this concept of, yeah, it's really easy to change things in QuickBooks, and that's kind of a good thing, but also kind of a bad thing. And so I'm going to show you how that would work within Dynamics GP and how that audit trail would work as well. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to look at a list of my chart of accounts. And I know that when I reviewed my trial balance and some of my reports, I noticed that one of the journal entries went to the wrong department for a supplies allocation. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take a look at this account 300-6140-00. And this kind of highlights the nature of GP from an GL account standpoint, where you can have a multi-segmented GL account structure to match your reporting needs. So my first three digits here is my department, 6140 is my supplies account, and then I've got a profit center here with the -00. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and go to and view the transactions for that account. And what I see here is an entry for supplies for supply software for the sales department, and that really should have been Department 400, which is the service installation department. So I'm going to click on this entry, and when I do that, it's lighting up at the top the ability to either back out the journal entry or correct the journal entry or copy that. So I'm going to go ahead and correct the journal entry, and it's going to take me through a fairly simple process to follow to back that out and then to re-enter that with the correct information. So I'm going to go ahead and say correct the journal entry, and it says back out a journal entry and create a correcting entry, and the original journal entry is 3587. I'm going to say yes, and that's going to come up then with my reversing entry. So now it's crediting that account and debiting the account that was credited before, and it's automatically putting in a reference of back out journal entry 3587. I'm going to go ahead and post that because that's what I want to do. And now that that's posted, it's come up and it's come up with the correcting entry. All right, so here's the same entry. I'm just going to go ahead and change this to 400 because that's the correct department. And then I'm going to go ahead and it's filled in the reference. It says correct journal entry 3587. So it's all self-documenting. I'm going to go ahead and post that. And that's done. I'm going to get out. I can print some reports or view reports. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to take a look at the entry again to account 36140, so I'll go back and view transactions. And now I see that my reversing entry here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up an inquiry screen on the original entry that was incorrect. And what I see here from this screen is I see my original entry. I also see the backed out entry, 3590, and I can drill down to that as well. And I also see linked in the corrected by journal entry, which is the new journal entry that went to the correct department 400. So even though I had to do a little bit of extra work, I've got a full audit trail. I couldn't change it easily like I can in QuickBooks, but I have the benefit of being able to automatically go through a process to correct the journal entry and have all three of those journal entries joined together so I can see what happened. Let's go ahead and come back. To our next section, which is limited access to the vital information contained in the system. And these gals here are trying their hardest to get everybody involved in the communication process, but you know, they're only able to do so much. And a lot of the problems that we find from QuickBooks users is that their non-QuickBooks users really have limited or no access to information that's in QuickBooks. And certainly there's a lot of situations where you don't want to make a manager or an executive a QuickBooks user, but you certainly want them to enjoy the benefit of that information, probably in a summarized or graphical format, so that they can make better decisions about the business. So oftentimes with the QuickBooks system, this requires, you know, frequent exports to Excel to make sure the information is up to date. There's also a lack of business intelligence for these non-QuickBooks users, often managers and executives, in the form of dashboards and KPIs. So the solution with Dynamics GP is really the ability to provide universal information access to the entire team, and without having to be a user of the core Dynamics GP system. So let's take a look at a couple of ways that can happen in Dynamics GP. I'm going to go over to a Excel spreadsheet, and of course Excel is certainly still one of the leading business intelligence tools that people use. But this Excel spreadsheet is a little bit different. In fact, we call it an Excel report because it has a live connectivity to the back-end information in Dynamics GP. And this one happens to be showing my top 5 customer balances. And so I've got my top 5 here in a grid, and I've got a graph down here. And it's just a spreadsheet that any non-GP user could have on their desktop or in their folder, and that they would open up and take a look at this information. So let's take note of Adam Park Resort here, which is kind of second from the bottom. And we're going to go over here to Dynamics GP, and we're going to enter a new order for Adam Park Resort. That's going to be kind of a big order, so that we can see the impact of that. So let's go over here to our sales order entry screen, and we're going to enter an order, actually an invoice for Adam Park. So let's go through that quickly. As a document number, there's our Adam Park. Automatically fills in the ship to address. The warehouse site I know is north. That's where I've got the items that I'm going to sell. Currency ID is US dollars, and just highlights so we can have multiple currencies if we want to. And I'm going to sell this 128 SD RAM. And I'm going to sell a lot of them, 4,000 of them, which is going to result in an invoice for $540,000. So I'm going to go ahead and post that invoice. Remember, you go through your pick, pack, ship and packing lists and all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of short circuit that and post that. And now get out of that. I'll just cancel through the reports that would print. So now I'm going to bring up my spreadsheet, And I'm going to go up here to the data, and I'm just going to say refresh. And we see, boom, now Adam Park just jumped up to number 1 because I've refreshed the data, and without having to export back into the Excel spreadsheet with the live connection, that it has, it was able to automatically update that information. And the same thing would happen every time you got back into the spreadsheet. It would refresh the information, and it would be current information, same information that's contained in Dynamics GP. And this information would be accessible to the user that is not a Dynamics GP user. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at one other item along the reporting topic, and that is the ability to show users that are not users of the accounting system rich charts and graphs and KPIs. So again, we're inside of Dynamics GP, so we're a GP user, and we see that we've got a graphic here, which is customer year-to-date sales by territory. Kind of a nice map here. I can actually drill down on it. But wouldn't it be great if we could provide the same information to people that are not users of the accounting system? And so I'm going to drill down here, this shortcut, which is going to take me out to SharePoint, which is a Microsoft collaboration technology, and it's going to bring up that same graphic that I saw earlier. And so this information would just be accessible by anybody that has access to SharePoint, the business portal. I also have the ability to, on a role-based approach, take a look at some additional information at the executive level. So I've just clicked on a page here that an executive would go to. And this is pulling in a sales a chart up here, and then down below it's showing me my top 5 customers by year-to-date sales. I can quickly go over here to a financials dashboard and look at the traditional KPIs that you would expect to see. Refresh that here. So we've got KPIs on cash position and debt to equity and AR days outstanding, all those kinds of things. Again, they're completely real time, going after the information that's contained in the Dynamics GP system. One other aspect that I wanted to point out was just simply the ability to have a shortcut on anybody's desktop, and this is just a shortcut to a web address. And because a lot of the reporting in Dynamics GP is web-based, we can also have access to that same map that we looked at within GP and within SharePoint just by simply bringing up a shortcut to the web browser. And this is hyperlinked, so I can click down and see what makes up a particular geographic territory. If I was a GP user, then clicking on any of these blue hyperlinks would get me back to information within Dynamics GP, so we complete the full circle. All right. Recap. So what we saw today was a number of specific kinds of shortcomings in QuickBooks that can lead to hidden costs, additional productivity loss, and rekeying information, losses to your business in both time and money. And so we saw that, first of all, the reliance on manual processes, which are inherent in QuickBooks because of the limited functionality, can be remedied by the additional functionality available in Dynamics GP. We looked at information silos and the need to rekey information into many systems and how that's solved by the full integration of Dynamics GP and the ease of integration between GP and other line of business systems. We specifically saw the integration with Microsoft CRM and Dynamics GP. We looked at the growing data volumes in your business and how that can result in a slowed QuickBooks system, and how that's remedied by the use of the award-winning Microsoft SQL database and the benchmarks of 500 concurrent users, pounding information in thousands of transactions. We examined the security and audit trail concerns in QuickBooks and how that's taken care of in Dynamics GP with a comprehensive security model, system alerts, and full audit trail. And finally, we looked at the limited access to the information for non-QuickBook users and how that's remedied by providing your managers and executives with refreshable spreadsheets and access to real-time dashboards and KPIs. So next steps. When this is concluded, there should be a survey that pops up, and we would hope that you would take the time to fill that out. I think there's only a handful of questions, and really depending upon your answers to those questions, we'll follow up appropriately and see if you're interested in engaging further in examining whether the resource group in Microsoft Dynamics GP might be a fit for your business. Thank you all for attending, and have a great day.